and welcome to another episode of the University Duel Podcast, where we talk about university life and more. And with me today, I have Kehinde. So Kehinde is going to introduce himself to us and tell us a little bit about what he does.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
My name is Kehinde Ilesanmi. I'm a co-founder at Dot, and Dot is effectively a fintech business that has product across payments, banking, and insurance.
Okay.
In Nigeria, it's a business we started 3 years ago, and it's been an interesting journey. Before that, I spent a few years in financial services, investments, and advisory generally. Yeah.
So what did you study?
Engineering, electrical, and electronic engineering.
So how did you get there?
Interesting. So secondary school days, I sort of enjoyed sciences. I had the opportunity to get into Jet Club in my secondary school.
What high school is that?
It's called Christ Redeemer's College. It's one of the Redeemed schools, CRC. So we had a very active Jet Club, and I was part of that team. And then I think in my SS1 or SS2, I had the opportunity to then represent the school in the Jets competition, where we built something. We actually, we won. It was good. Ogun State won, and we're part of the Ogun State team, so we won nationally. I remember that, and so that is effectively was my first exposure to like building things, and I really enjoyed that. Like I thought it was a very cool thing to do at the time. So I said, I was going to go into electrical engineering, and then I had the exposure to just building things, and that's where my interest sort of picked, and then went to my foundation uni, and then decided I was going to do engineering proper. Now, obviously, building things is different from electrical and electronic engineering, because that is a much broader field where beyond building stuff, there are other things that are maybe not as sort of interesting, like nanotech, etc., that you need to learn and be part of. And that's really how I got into engineering. It's something that I don't regret it. I love it. I think it's a nice background to have, and it's been very helpful for me personally in my own career.
So how did you? Well, it's not a full pivot because it's still in STEM, but how did you transition from that into what you do now?
So what I do now is more finance.
Yes.
In my third year of uni, I had the opportunity to then take some mixed courses. So I did some accounting, extra, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was much easier than my core engineering courses. I was just like struggling with
accounting so much.
But it just came easy to me. I understood everything. And so in my fourth year, I then said, I was going to do additional courses. And that's really how I got into like accounting and finance. I figured, I'm actually quite good at this. Let me build. And then after uni, I had the opportunity to do a master's in finance. And then that sort of brought everything together. And
so that's like, it's interesting. So more often than not, you meet people, especially, I'm always shading them, especially people that study microbiology. They study something and they're doing absolutely something different. So it's also quite intriguing when you meet people who kind of went in line with what they studied. But just to get into the conversation of today, we're going to be talking about leveraging alumni networks and if they are essential for career success or a false hope. I think like the alumni of every school is kind of the merits through which you kind of rate how good the school is. And schools are always urging their students to connect with the alumni because you never know. And the students are like, whatever, I'm not going to do that. So even me. So I want you to talk to me about why you think it is, or if you think it's an important thing to do, or if it's just, you don't really need it.
I think alumni connection and just trying to leverage the network of your university alumni is a nice to have. It's not a must have in my view. Like in my own personal experience, I've had a bit of it where I've effectively connected with alumni, and it's been it's had positive impact on whether the decision that I was trying to make at the time, or just getting additional information around, let's say, university, and saying, look, how do I get the best of my time, or whether you're trying to make a decision around career choices, path, or whether you're just actively pursuing them to see if they can give you a role. I remember in my uni days, actively networking with alumni was a big thing, where everyone would say, "Oh, for you to get a job, try to network and be pushing that engagement." But to be honest, no job really came from that in reality. And because the reality is, career success in itself is not driven by just the people that you know.
No, it's more than that.
There's a lot more to that. It's more personal development and you pushing to say, this is what I'm trying to achieve, this is what my passion is, these are my skill sets, etc. And positioning yourself. Now, if you've done that well, chances are that if you then are able to network and leverage the alumni network of your university or even anywhere else, right? You would probably get a better. You would get more for your buck. Where maybe you will get a better job. You will get a job faster than your peers. You will get introductions to people that might then help you along that journey, etc. But it's not a must. Like we know a lot of people that have done it by themselves. We know a lot of people that have access to people but are still struggling with that, career journey. So I would say building a successful career and just getting maybe making progress with your personal career journeys would first start with yourself. Deciding what you really want, being passionate about it, and positioning yourself to be successful in that field, right?
This is what you primarily need.
Yeah, that's what you primarily need. Now, beyond that, if you know people, obviously engage them. Nigeria, people will say connection, but connection will really get you to the door, but you have to be able to impress the person that you're going to speak to and be sure that you are ready, to do the job. Because it is that kind of commitment that will then make you successful.
Yeah. That's awesome. Funny how as I spoke, I just realized that I didn't make an accurate judgment of what I was saying. So when I hear alumni, what I think is having to go. So I schooled at Pan Atlantic. Pan Atlantic is all the way at Ibejuleki. So every time I hear alumni, I'm thinking when they have their meetings, I'm not gonna leave my house to go to Ibejuleki to hang around a bunch of people. But I'm then realizing now that in context, I'm someone who has really, really extremely benefited from the alumni of my school. The first thing was I was also thinking about alumni as just the people that graduated before me. So I'm an alumni. I'm an alumni, and a lot of the people that I work with now, a lot of the people that have given me work opportunities as well are people that we're either in class together or they were like a year or two above me. But one thing that I do want to mention, so I have this funny thing where every time I look for a job, I never get it. Like I just never, something just never clicks. And then I'll be like, okay, I quit. And then it's always a phone call from someone that I went to school with and be like, KG, do you still write? Or KG, do you still do this? And I'm like, yeah, I do. I'm like, oh, I have a job for you. Yeah. So I think what I'm trying to say from that is, I think while in school, it's very important to establish yourself, like who are you and what do you do and what can people know you as or know you for. So when I was in school, everybody knew like that I used to write. So anytime people go out and they hear that there's like a writing opportunity, the first person that they think about is me. Also with business as well, I like co-founders that I have in my company are people that I went to school with. So I want you to touch on how can you, even while in school, start building as it were an alumni community or relationship with people that would be alumni by the time you guys are in school.
No, correct. I think that is, I'll probably say that is even more important because that goes beyond just being an alumni, because you're effectively networking and you're building relationships with your peers and people that you are probably in school with either a year or two, because like you said, there's after uni and when you get into the real life, these are the people that you'll still rely on to probably engage on the social life. So even if you go out, you gotta in like similar circles. And so if there are opportunities and they know that you are good at XYZ, chances are that they would reach out to you, and that's something that people don't really realize, but majority of us get our gigs or even our breaks from that kind of engagement. So I'd say that is extremely important. Being a good person, being there for your friends because you know that they will be there for you, whether within the school environment or after, because you don't know where some of these things will pay off.
Yeah.
I'd say, and just being because reality is you cannot be a terrible person in school
and they
expect that when there is a role
that
or when there's an opportunity,
you.
they'll call you. So you also have to position yourself to, again, like I said, to be there for them, so that if there is an opportunity, it might not be directly, it might be that they know somebody that knows somebody, it might be their folks, it might be that, and so that is a very important part. But I'd say that even goes beyond just being an
alumni.
Exactly. It's more, you building your network in life generally, so that as you grow, you can also benefit from whatever growth that comes from your network, right? And pretty much, I'd say that goes way beyond just another. But that's a very important network that everyone should have, regardless of what level.
So now I think we've thought about it as the people that are benefiting from the alumni. So let's talk about how do you become an alumni that's worthy of know that everybody's like, oh, this guy went to your school, like just find a way to reach him and like you'll be fine.
Well, that is more grace, right? Because ultimately nobody sets out to not be an alumni in that sense, right?
Yeah.
You start your journey, you go to uni, and everyone is expecting to excel in their career and become an important person that their school can happily associate or boast about. But I'd say it's more grace. Obviously, there's a lot of, beyond grace also is a lot of hard work. I would imagine that anybody that you speak to today that is successful in their field will talk about the kind of sacrifices that they've had to make, the kind of journey that they've had, the hard work. I'm sure it would not be easy and like rosy, or it would not have been easy all along. But staying true to the job and focusing on the target, which is you want to be successful, right? Requires sacrifice, and you being committed to that and I think if you do that, plus the grace of God, because we can't there are people that have done even more work
and they don't have that exposure.
They don't have it. I think we can only then hope that one is successful, and then you then be in a position to give back. And also, I would also say that beyond being successful, I don't think you need to be the most successful person to be an impactful alumni in your network.
Absolutely.
Right. I don't think you need to be that. I don't have to have all the money. I might just be a tool to connect you. Right? I might just be a social. I might just know people, and maybe that's my strength. And okay, you want this? Let me connect you with X, Y, Z, and then that happens. It might also just be me able to share my own experiences and my own challenges, and maybe that's what I'll use to motivate the students, people to be able to learn from my journey. So people need to think about, again, is how can I give back?
Yeah.
Not necessarily because I want to give you a job. Right? Giving back would not always lead to a job. It might just be benefiting from my experience, and hopefully you not making mistakes that I've made, or you even getting it might even be that maybe you want to go for a job interview and you are in that space of, what should I be thinking about? How do I approach this job? You might just want to speak to me, and maybe I'll tell you one or two things of how I've gone about it, and maybe you'll find that impactful when you are engaging. So it's that. So people need, success, yes, great. Everybody wants to be successful, but we also need to think beyond that, where I should be able to impact my community, my university, community, regardless.
I think if I were to answer this question, I'll give a scenario that happened to me. I work at a film festival called Afrif, we're the biggest in Africa, shout out to us. And so the first thing is, I think after I left school, I became more aware of how important school was for me, because, and that kind of speaks to even the schools themselves, outside of the alumni, but also just build the school themselves, building a reputation, even though that's kind of in line with the alumni. every time I go somewhere and I'm like, oh, I went to PAU, especially when it comes to media and comms, everybody's like, oh, okay, all right, girl, like, we trust you. And so as I started out in my career, I'm still starting now, but as I started out in my career, I began to truly understand how important my school was to my growth. And so I work in sponsorships, partnerships, and marketing. And so what I did was I was like, you know what, guys, let's build a partnership with my school. Because AFRIF happens in Lagos. PAU is, even though they are on the other side, but PAU is in Lagos, and now they have a film and media, multimedia course that they are doing. So what I did was I wrote a proposal to the school, and I was like, yeah, like, can some of the students come for AFRIF and whatnot? And it was such, like, this was such a moment for me, because I had written the proposal and somebody had taken up the conversation, so I absolutely forgot. And so on the first day of the festival, I was walking all around and just trying to get stuff done. And then I saw some people, and immediately I saw them. I just knew that they were from PAU, because if you are going to PAU, you are just weird and odd. Like, the children were all just crazy. And I saw them, and I knew they were from PAU, and I literally almost cried. It was such a full circle moment. And like the founder of AFRIF, like, so they were like coming in, and I was beside her, and she was like, oh, like, this is who, like, she's doing such an amazing job, and she went to your school. And I ushered them in, and then it was just really cute and really cool. And after a while, because we're doing it at the mall at the Palms, and so I was walking throughout the festival. So I was walking, and I saw some of them at the food court, and I was like, okay, let me be that, like, I'm not that old, but let me be that weird old lady that sits with the young kids. And they were just really telling me about how it was such a memorable experience for them. And so I didn't give them money, I didn't give them a job or anything like that, but I created an opportunity because I was conscious about remembering that community that fed into me, and I'm feeding back into it. So I think that's...
I'd say well done on that, because I think not a lot of people have the opportunity to be able to make that kind of impact within, like I said, you are just starting off your own career. So not a lot of people, but I'd say that is probably a more impactful way to give back to your alumni community than even a job to one or two, because now you've then empowered
them with that experience.
Exactly, and they can then run with that and make what they can with that kind of exposure.
Absolutely. I feel so good. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for joining on the show. I wish you all the best. And that is all on this episode of the University Duel Podcast. See you next time. Bye.